So my name is Maulik. I'm a senior director data engineering at Tredence. You just heard the profile, but I have something more interesting for you guys over here. Okay, so I'm pretty sure you will be interested in this bit of a goodie that we have. So how many of you follow Tredence on LinkedIn? If you can raise your hands. Right, okay. So this is your chance. Tell me the latest post on LinkedIn from Tredence, and this goodie is yours. Take out your phones and do it right now. Tell me the latest post. I'm waiting. So is this goodie. You can raise your hands and tell me what it is. Launch with Databricks on the marketing side. Yeah, thank you for that. You can subscribe as well since you're on the page. Sure. I'll start with another question though, okay? And again, I have no goodies for that, right? But let me start with a question. Let's assume there is a $50 billion company, a revenue with $50 billion. How much do you think will be the spent on data analytics? Any rough guesses? Or let me put up three options for you. $50 billion company, right? Under 5 million, 5 million to 1 billion, 1 billion to 2 billion. These are the three options. So how many guys think it's going to be under 500 million? Okay. How many of you think between 500 and 1 billion? Okay. And how many you think is 1 billion to 2 billion? Right. I love you guys because you guys are real enthusiasts. Okay. We will reach there one day, someday. But right now, the figure is around kind of less than 1%, right? So it's around 500 million, right? So that's the reality. Okay, sorry, my bad. So a $50 billion company revenue, typically 4% of it is spent on IT, right? So it's kind of 2 billion, and the data analytics spend out of that is 20%. So what it really means is that it's 400 million that you have to spend very wisely on your data analytics projects, right? Then there's a breakup of new projects and support is typically a 40-60 split, right? So now think about a scenario, right, where you can improve the efficiency of your development project by 20% and your support project by, let's say, 30%, right? You would be kind of unlocking 100 million of value, which can get again into your data analytics projects, and that will increase the revenue. It's a cycle that will keep on continuing. But how do you make that change? How do you unlock that 25% potential across your data analytics projects? So here comes the agents and Gen AI, right? So let me try to give you a simple example of an agent, what an agent really means, okay? So in the olden days, right, or let me rephrase it. When I was a bit younger, right, basically, you remember the queues that you had to stand, I mean, the queue to get a ticket, right, a train ticket. You have to stand in long queues for 2 to 3 hours, spend ample amount of time, you get something, you may not get something, a lot of waste of time there, right? So what happened then? Then came agents. You just tell them what to do, they will do it for you, right? And you will get what you wanted, right? Now think of it a little bit more intelligent agent here. Okay, so the intelligent agent is the one that understands your patterns. It understands what you have done in the past. It gives you a suggestion on what you need to do, right? And it will also then maybe book tickets for you. Your life will be simple and great, isn't it? Basically, all your mundane tasks can be handled by agents, so you could do something more useful in life. More useful like attending DES 25, right? And listening to this keynote as an example. Okay, so let's talk about some of the challenges that we face with data engineering. Time intensive, you know, data engineering projects takes time. It can take months, some are multi-year as well. It's constantly changing. Technology is constantly changing. You have so many different clouds, so many different technologies, right? So it's ever-changing kind of a scenario. Specialized expertise is what you need. You need specialists in every area. Data governance, I need a specialist. Data engineer, I need a specialist, right? Data analytics, I need a specialist. I need specialists for everything, right? You don't get those specializations. And low automation, right? I mean, we know we have built frameworks, etc., but it was so automated, it shouldn't have taken those months and years. It should have happened in kind of weeks, right? So data engineering is the single most bottleneck in my view, right? Which basically stops business from getting the value out of the data, right? And if you can speed that up significantly, it can unlock a lot of value, right? So these are the challenges. How you think Gen AI is going to change things tomorrow? So let me go here. This is today's experience. This is tomorrow's experience. Okay. So your manual pipeline creation will all be auto-generated. Human-led monitoring will be all AI agent-driven. Scheduled jobs will all be event-driven jobs. Siloed tools, you will have agents will do data observability for you across all your different ecosystem. Static dashboards will be replaced by insight-based dashboards. Copilot as an example. Your text to SQL as an example, right? It's already happening today. Reactive incident will be more of a proactive incidents, and it's more predictive in that sense, right? So let's look at a story, okay? So this is a story of how a traditional data ops functions. Okay, it's an interesting story because we have all lived through the story at some point or the other. So we have three different characters over here. We have Linda, who is the support team. We have Brian, who is the support lead. And then we have Pete, who is the business owner, right? Now Linda is new, she's the support team, that's how it works, all right? Let's assume there's a nightly batch that's running. It's a important monthly finance ETL batch that is important to meet SLAs. Something has failed at night. So Linda receives a call or a message that something has failed, right? She's trying to figure out things, but she's new. She really doesn't know what to do. So she calls up Brian, whose head is on the chopping block there, right, to deliver things on time. So the first thing Brian asks, have you looked at the logs? Linda is smart. Rather than saying she doesn't know, she says, I don't have access to those logs, right? So Brian says, okay, let me figure out. So he goes in, tries to find out what the issue is. He comes to know that it's a small thing where some kind of access is missing on some of the objects, right? So it says, Linda, can you fix it for me? So Linda says, let me look at the documentation. Let me try to figure out. Let me do a QA of it. Let me do a UAT of it, right? Let me go through different phases of the cycle and let me fix it. Brian is smart. Brian says, okay, I have something with me. Use these commands and it will work for you. And the issue is resolved. But again, you have missed precious time. You have missed your SLA in this case. And as you see Pete in the picture, he's not a very happy guy, right? Who is the business owner of things. So you look at the workflow. There's a workflow on the left-hand side which says how you detect an issue. There's a workflow on the right-hand side which says how much time it's going to fix. It's a very complex kind of a scenario. And that's what we want to improve through something like an agent, right? So how will it work tomorrow? So the business owner is gone, Pete is gone, which is great news for us to start with. Now we have a new guy in here, which is the AI agent, right? So how would it work? Right? This is a repetitive. It's a pattern that keeps on repeating. So in this case, the agent is trained to handle this kind of a scenario. Okay. So the agent receives the failure, it understands what the issue is, it gives the access, it sends a mail, log to Linda and Brian, the issue is resolved, right? The workflow is much more simplified in this case. Issue detected, the agent invoked, resolved, restarted pipeline, issue done, no SLA misses, right? So that's the power of an agent. So let's focus on that guy right at the top who is the agent. What really you mean by an agent, right? I give an example, but let's see what an agent really is. So this is an agent, a very simplistic view of an agent because we want to make it simple, right? So an agent has 4 parts to it: tools, memory, planning, action, right? So what are tools? Tools is nothing but think of it like your reusable functions that you have to build, right? It's your functions that does something or the other. Agent is also a function in that sense. So how is it different from anything that we are building today, right? It's still reusable. We build reusable functions all the time. The difference really is that this is Gen AI backed. What I mean by Gen AI backed is, rather than following a set of rules, if A happens, then do B. If C happens, then do D, right? Rather than following those set of rules, it has its mind of its own. It takes its own decision. It is autonomous. It understands natural language and then invokes the right set of tools / functions to make things happen for you. Right? So that's the basic difference of what we had to do in the past and what an AI agent really means. Okay? So now this is great, right? But now you need to sell it to the business to build those agents. So what's the business case to have these agents in your ecosystem? So let's look at that, okay? So the business case, we all know this, very repetitive in nature. We have fragmented tools, changing business requirements, data spread across multiple source systems, etc., etc. But the two biggest drivers that have changed things now, and this is going to be possible, is because of LLM AI and maturity, all your Gen AI models which are getting faster, better, cheaper, etc. And your development in agent frameworks. So the agent frameworks, the Lang chains, the Lang graphs, the A2A of the world, right? The MCPs, Autogen, you can just name them, right? They're just springing up, these frameworks, which help develop these agent frameworks very, very fast and in a way which is you can deploy it in production. So what's the impact of it? A pipeline recovery time which used to take 6 to 8 hours with an agent will take a few minutes. Onboarding new data source, that's a big engineering heavy work. Ingesting a new data source, which used to take weeks for us, it's now going to take some days. Building pipelines from hours, 8 hours to less than 2 hours. Instant response, we saw an example, it's going to be much more proactive. Understanding your data, building data quality rules, it's a time-consuming job. The agent can do this for you. Right? So agentic data ops isn't just about automation, it's about transforming your data engineering into a more resilient, intelligent, and efficient system. Right? So that's what agents will do. So what are the different use cases that we can have for agents in data engineering? Let's look at some of the use cases that we have. Okay. Again, I'll not go through all the use cases. We already discussed a few. So let's look at some interesting ones here. We talked about ingestion. We talked about quality. Code generation conversion agent. Probably this is a big one, right? I'll need to just talk a little bit more about this. Every business is struggling to become modern, right? Or change their existing platform to a more modernized platform. The project of any project that is going to change things or kind of from a traditional Teradata of the world or maybe the data stages of the world want to go to modern platform, it's a multi-year project. It's not even months, right? So think of an agent that can translate your legacy ETL code into any of your modernized code platform in an automated manner. That is a big potential, right? That can save a lot of time, energy, effort. No one has time to have a multi-year project now, especially in, to kind of just get a value out of it, right? So doing this faster is going to be very useful. Application agent support we talked about. Documentation, right? How many of the engineers queue up to write their own documentation on pipelines? I'm pretty sure none of us. Okay. So documenting your pipelines is another big advantage. So it becomes easier to understand what the system is about, right? So those are some of the use cases, right? Again, there can be many, many more as you go along. So that's great, right? It looks a lovely world. It looks like we are all sorted out here. But if we're sorted out here, then why are we talking about it and not already implemented it, right? Obviously, there are challenges and risks in doing this. So let's talk a little bit about challenges and risk, right? So let me read out a quote from Sam Altman, right? I'm hoping every one of you know him. Okay. So what he says is that AI has the potential to be incredibly beneficial, but we need to think carefully about the risk it possesses or kind of has, right? So let's put a lens on the word risk here. What does a risk mean? Okay. So let me give you an example, right, of this risk. Okay. So imagine it's your girlfriend's or wife's birthday. You want to make it a great evening for her, right? But you are a lazy guy, like every guy is. Okay. And then you delegate things to an agent. You tell an agent, please book a cab for me, please book a restaurant for me, please book the menu, the champagne, flowers, cake, gift, etc., right? You delegate all of this to the agent. Now the problem is that a wife or girlfriend will expect that everything will fall in place correctly with a 99% SLA in that sense. Okay. Anything below 99% is not acceptable. Okay. And so I hope you understand what the risk factor here means. Okay. So there's always a risk that you have to take. Data engineering projects, if it's less than 99% correct, you have to be accurate in your data engineering projects. You cannot go below 99%. That's a minimum requirement because the business will not accept it, right? So meeting that 99% SLA is extremely important for a data engineering project to succeed, right? So let's look at some of the risks and mitigations around this. So trust and autonomy. You need human in the loop, so that guy has to monitor what the agent is doing and it has done the right booking or not. Otherwise, you will be in trouble, right? Explainability, built-in traceability is important. What the agent has actually done, the logs that the agent creates. Security and access control. It has to be role-based access control. It should get access to the right systems only. Data leakage. You need to build in the guardrails, the masking, etc. in your data, so there is no data leakage in that sense. Bias and hallucination, that's a big one. So if you don't have the information up to date, or your agent hallucinates and it sends a gift in someone else's name, you know the problem that you will face, right? So you need to augment it with the right data, okay, through RAG system, etc., right? So agent system do introduce new capabilities, and we will have new responsibilities there, but the right governance, observability, and control patterns, we should be able to mitigate those risks, right? So that's on the risk part of it, right, that we have. So how is data engineering now changing the landscape? Okay, we'll look at it from 3 different lenses. Okay, so the first lens is around talent and organization shift. What it means by that is, from data engineering heavy teams, we will have agent plus engineering hybrid teams, right? Rise of agent developers and system designers. So there'll be agent developers. They will still need context to your data engineering pipelines, but you'll have specialized developers in your team, which you so call as agent developers, which will help you augment your data engineering experience. Specialized skills will emerge. Operating model transformation, that's the second lens. From linear business cycles to more agent orchestrated cycles. What it means? Asynchronous scalability. What do I mean by asynchronous scalability? It really means that the size of your data engineering project will not be proportional to the size of the number of engineers you deploy on that particular project, right? So that's what I mean by asynchronous scalability. More projects, faster delivery, which is great, right? Business value acceleration, radical change, reduction in time to market. That's very important, right? Most of our projects struggle with this particular aspect. How do I make it, rather than months and years, to something like weeks to transform my data engineering landscape. Okay. So who are going to be the winners of this agentic space, right? So the winners will not be organizations which have the biggest data engineering teams. The winners will be the ones who have those smart and intelligent agents that are built, right? Agents which can orchestrate intelligence at scale, speed, and trust. Okay, so that's where we have to reach from an agentic solution perspective and a system perspective. So what is Tredence doing in this area, right? Tredence is transforming the DE landscape. It is building agents on top of all the different functions of data engineering. Ingestion, transformation, consumption, documentation. It is doing a lot of different things. It has a lot of business case as well, right? So think of a scenario where you're asking a question and you get an answer. It runs an ML model in the back. Everything happens transparently for you in front, right? So these are all the different things that Tredence is doing in the space of agents. I would highly encourage you to visit our booth to look at some of those demos that we have, right, around agents and what we are doing with agents. So with that, I'll conclude my presentation. Thank you so much for your patience listening, and looking forward to meet you all at the booth.